Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth.
And danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings.
Sunward I've climbed, and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds.
And done 100 things you have not dreamed of.
These are the voyages of the starship Erebus. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Oh my god, actually unmuted us. The sound's working. I haven't streamed in like 2 weeks or something. It's been crazy. So welcome everyone to the much anticipated, not super long overdue, session 4 of our Star Trek Adventures game. It's been a really fun one so far, Star Trek Erebus. And the crew has been inspiring to both play with and watch things unfold. Unfortunately, 2 of the crew have died off screen. No, I'm just kidding. That's terrible. But we've got replacements, and some would say they're even better. No, I'm just kidding. That's horrible. I'm a bad person. But no, but joining us today are 2 guest stars, whom if you've watched the channel for any amount of time, you would have seen them on Star Trek Valhalla, and they are just awesome friends of mine. We have Bri, the server mod guy, here with us today, and then we also have Sidereal Day, a good friend of mine from IRL, from way back in the days of the basement where we played Rise of the Runelords, which has been a wild time, an absolute wild time. But without further ado, as is tradition, we're just going to quickly go around the table, have everyone introduce themselves, tell us what character they're going to be playing here this evening, and then we're just gonna dive right into a session intro. I think a little opening log from a certain Flitzy, as it were. So let's take it away. Go start with Matthew. We'll go crisscross applesauce.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew, and I am playing the Andorian/Enar civilian science officer, Shas Chethane. Was I supposed to say something else?
No, you did a great job, Aaron. It's your turn.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I've been kicking around the den for a few years now. Played in a bunch of stuff with Wolf, but very, very happy to be back playing Star Trek Adventures again. After a really long hiatus, I missed it. And I didn't realize how much I missed it until I started playing it again. But everybody here is fantastic. I've played with everybody here at least once, most everybody multiple times, and everybody's fantastic. I am not fantastic. I'm a middling role player at best, and you will see if you keep watching. But
True.
It's okay because I'm actually playing the captain, so I don't actually have to ever do anything.
We
I delegate.
Better. We did. We tried to get someone better. We couldn't.
He couldn't afford anybody better. I work for scale, so
the budget is very
it's
tight
good.
this season.
But yeah, I'm playing Captain Ezra Shruth. He is the Andorian commanding officer of the USS Erebus, and yeah, super happy to be here.
Rebecca.
I'm Drew. I'm playing Lieutenant Commander Flitz, the android chief engineer of the Erebus.
Good.
And I'm so happy they brought in such a real dinger.
Speaking of, Brian.
I am Brian. I'm also known as Mind Over Brian on both Twitter and on Twitch, although on Twitch I spell it with 0, and I'm also Bri the server mod guy in the DerWolfDenGaming server. So if you ever get reprimanded for something, which happens very seldom, it was probably me.
It's probably, let's be honest, it was probably Patrick. He probably did something wrong.
No, there's like 2 other people who have definitely gotten one or no. But I'm playing a guest character today.
Yes, their name is
Oltsy.
Correct. Oltsy. I like it. Beautiful. Sidereal Day. Take it away, sister.
Hi, I'm Sidereal Day. If any of you watched Valhalla, you might remember me. Today, though, I'm playing one of our guest stars. I'm playing Meldreath.
Yes.
Is that how we're saying her name? Meldreath. Cool.
Correct.
Yeah. So
we are now.
Okay, so instead of Wolf mispronouncing my character's name, I get to mispronounce his character's name.
Got it. Done. How the turns have tabled. Yes, indeed. Quite
Mildred,
right.
I've been calling you Mildred this whole time.
Brilliant. And of course, I am DerWolf, the Game Master. As always, super happy to be here and excited to be playing some games with these awesome people. And also, Sidereal Day, thanks for being here, suffering through COVID. We appreciate you for being a trooper. And like I told her earlier, just lean into the voice. If you sound a little hoarse, it's okay. Just lean into it. Maybe that's how your character sounds. I love it. Yeah, she coughs a lot, too, off screen. It's going to be great. But we're going to open, obviously, with an opening log. But I'd like to set the scene here for you. So we see a exterior shot as the camera lights come up. We can see this huge expanse of open space. We have the twinkling stars in the distance, but what is really just absorbing the entirety of this scene before us is a massive swirling nebula of gas and clouds and other just elements and substances, and it almost seems to kind of pulse with this kind of almost like a breath. You'll see these swirls come in and out, and the whole thing seems to be almost alive in its nature. It is a fantastic and phenomenal sight to behold, and we see the Erebus itself moving currently at this point at impulse, likely taking some quick scans of this nebula, identifying different elements and properties of it. It is like nothing that the crew has seen in their own galaxy, in the Milky Way. But we are going to zoom, as we often do, down into the ship itself, sort of phasing through the different levels, seeing different hallways and different tubes and wiring and electrical systems and what have you. And Lieutenant Commander Flitz, where is your character this day? Where are you taking or giving this log from?
I mean, I imagine it would be kind of zooming in while this is happening, and it's playing as a like voiceover thing.
Love it. Perfect.
And Flitz is sitting there with his hand open, the access panel in his hand, and Bronson and our new crew member, whose name has escaped me briefly. Adral, that's right. Are kind of hovered over it, working.
Okay.
All right. Chief Engineer's log, stardate 47925.13. As is the case so often, I've spent much of my off-duty time following the events at Akal Prime, contemplating the behavior of biologics. Their almost universal insistence that despite whatever obstacle is placed in their path, whatever hardship they must endure, there's always a way out. There's always hope. It's once again baffling and inspiring. The behavior is foreign to the inherently logical basis of my core programming, but I have hope that the subroutines I continue to refine will allow me to exhibit at least a shadow of that optimism. Our new crewmate seems to be fitting in well. Her precociousness has endeared her to the crew, and the spectacle of her trailing after our good Dr. Stern, chattering a million questions a minute, brings a smile to everyone's face, even Lieutenant Lamb's. Though he does try to hide it. She seems to be adapting to starship life quite well, although her desire to be helpful often outpaces her ability to be so. The Erebus is currently approaching a most interesting nebula, a very active stellar nursery. Mr. Schass is particularly chomping at the bit, as they say, to begin his analysis. I'm more interested in the ship we have detected approaching our position. Small, 2 crew, primitive life support systems, and a warp drive that even Admiral Archer would have scoffed at. All very intriguing. Lieutenant Bronson has finally, after 1,000 years, finished constructing the new microscopic phase controller for my hand. I could be said to be happier than a pig in shit. Perhaps I may need to tone down the hyperbole and analogy metaphor speech algorithms I've been working on. End log.
Very nice. You may have 2 momentum for that delightful opening log. Well played. And I'd like to follow with you, Lieutenant Commander Flitz, for just a moment down in main engineering, where we see Lieutenant Bronson And the young, I don't know if we've given her a title yet. Probably not an official role, but the young Adral. She is very excitedly and inquisitively leaning over Bronson, who has her face underneath a panel. A multitude of wires and different bits and pieces are dangling out of it. It is just a redundant system, a redundant panel that helps regulate some of the flow of antimatter matter. It's not anything too important, but it's been acting strange lately. It hasn't been working quite to optimal efficiency. And Bronson, being the perfectionist that she has become, is, well, doing her best to figure out and source the problem. So you would see her under this panel, hands up inside of it, testing different wires, tricorder, like bit between her teeth, kind of looking down on it as it's giving out readings. She's got both hands up in there, and you just hear a draw. And what does that do? And what does that do? And what does that do? That system there, that system there, that is the restricts the phase quantum phase equalizer. And what does that one do? That one restricts the linear polar induction relay. Okay, what does that one do? That one nullifies a tertiary Vetron field coil. And she just goes on, and she just keeps asking questions. And you can see this. Bronson obviously is missing one eye, but she has this scar that whenever she starts to get mad, it starts to get red. Like the scar starts to get a little bit more red because like the blood, she's like all the blood is rushing to her face. So you can see the scar right here. It starts to almost illuminate, notating that she's getting frustrated with something. So how would you like to enter into this particular scene?
Honestly, I'm going to observe it just ever so a little bit longer than I maybe had to.
That is
just because it's inherently interesting biologic behavior. Like,
make me role play with myself more. Perfect. I appreciate
no. I'm
Great.
saying like
I'm
what he had seen already.
Totally kidding.
That can be like he had sat there for just like a little bit too long. And then he looks down and says, "How's everything going, Lieutenant?"
Lieutenant Bronson peeks her head. So if you imagine this dangle of wires, she's up inside of it. You can just barely see her face as she leans out from underneath, looking over. You see a Drawl is perched like over the console, looking down at her, almost on her tiptoes, trying to lean over to get a look at what Lieutenant Bronson is doing. And Bronson simply looks at you and says, "It's going fine, sir. Thank you, sir." That she goes back to work. But her "fine, sir, thank you, sir," you know what? You've been messing with your algorithms for emotional intelligence. She was lying to you. It's not "fine, sir." She doesn't thank you, sir. She's very frustrated right now. How would you like to proceed?
I think he would reach down to the young pest and kind of stand her up, like, perhaps we should leave the lieutenant to work in peace.
There is a mixture of disappointment that is then changed to an almost fearful look on her face. And I would like you to roll a quick check here for me. I'd like you to give me a presence. Actually, excuse me. I'd like you to give me an insight and security. An insight security real quick for me, if you wouldn't mind. Insight security. Difficulty on this is a 1. It's a 1. Fill me in. Let's see what you do.
I don't think theoretical experimental physics will assist.
I'm going to say no, but I like where your mind's at. It doesn't hurt to ask.
You gotta, you can't hit it if you don't swing.
It's true, 100%. Ooh, I see red. I love that. Wow. All right, cool. You have no idea what she's feeling. Not a clue whatsoever. And I am going to go ahead and I am going to pocket that threat for later. So thank you. I appreciate you. That is fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. we're off to a great start. This will be a quick series.
You
Thank you so much.
you love to see it.
You'll love to see it.
You
That's
love
brilliant.
to see it.
But she, again, is very bubbly, as you described her. She's very bubbly. She's very energetic. She is asking a lot of questions constantly. She's always pestering people, wanting to understand what is this, what is that, what is going on. She wants to understand and know everything, but her entire demeanor in this moment changes, and she looks as though she has broken someone's artwork or kicked someone's dog, and is just almost beside herself. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Commander. I know I can be a bit too excitable at times, and I should get to medical. I have a training, a meeting, a training meeting, of training with Dr. Harsk.
I would prefer if you did not.
He was going to teach me how to dissect a human brain.
That is a interesting task. I was going to have you assist me in focusing the phased osmotic reaction grid.
Sorry, one moment, and forgive me for this, everyone. I will be right back. Apparently, my wife locked herself out of the house.
No worries. Now I can get dinner. So how's everyone doing?
Fantastic.
Doing so good.
Can't complain.
I'd be doing better if I could breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard breathing is helpful.
Yeah.
Tends to be a necessity in today's society.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
it's
kind of a luxury.
It's a luxury
in today's
now.
society.
All right, sorry about that.
Not a problem.
There it is. Sometimes life happens. It is what it is. It's all
Mhm,
good.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
So, despite your protests, with your failure, she pivots and quickly exits out of main engineering. And Lieutenant Bronson looks out once more from under the console that she's working on. And there is a look of almost wicked relief on her face. It is perhaps uncharacteristically, I would say, aggressive in this moment. And you see her mouth something, but not speak it out loud in this moment. And it looks like she says, "Good riddance." She mouths "good riddance" and goes back to her work.
Not a fan, Lieutenant?
I find her... No, I am not a fan, Lieutenant Commander.
She's a bit much,
She is...
people say?
She is precocious to the extent of being dangerous, Lieutenant Commander. Her excitability, I feel, could be dangerous, sir.
Then it's a good thing that we work with professional people who are good at their job and good at watching for threats such as that.
I'd like you to roll me an insight medicine at this point, because there's something deeper that's bothering Lieutenant Bronson right now. And I want to see if you can maybe pick up on this. I doubt it, because you probably don't have any focuses, and this is a difficulty 2 on this one. Let's see what happens.
You don't think Starship propulsion systems?
You know what? You're trying to propel this emotional conflict
Mhm.
forward, but no.
See?
No. No.
And aboard a starship.
Yeah.
I try.
We're technically aboard a starship and moving forward. That's true. Yes. But I like where your mind's at. Let's see what you get. 0.
At least.
God, it's
at
playing
least I
so
did
well
roll a
into
20.
it that you're an android and don't understand emotion. So you pick up nothing, which is totally fine. Failure can be fun. And the dice have a story to tell. And she simply nods to you, looks at the doorway as Adral exits out, and then very quickly and without another word goes back to work. But at this moment, I'd like to pivot over to the bridge. So we zoom up once more through the starship over to the bridge, where we see Shaz, the captain, and we see the first officer and a smattering of other secondary officers at their, particular stations. And the first officer, captain, who is right next to you in his first officer's chair, he has had his morning coffee, as it were, with his cream and a French press, and he's very much enjoying it. He's enjoyed it, but he seems somewhat distracted, if not even perturbed in this moment. And it is a little bit uncharacteristic for him. And he's got his coffee in one hand, he's got the French press right on his little armrest, he's got a data pad, and he just keeps loudly sipping, like a sets it down with a clink, swipe, shakes his head, swipe, and then continues onward, reading whatever it is that he's currently reading.
Commander, is there something bothering you?
No, sir. Quite fine, sir. Thank you for asking, sir. Blink.
Commander, may I see you in my ready room?
He almost spills his coffee. Sets it back down. So, of course, sir. It's around. Davidson, you have the bridge? Or that's your job, sir. Sorry, yes, right. Ready room, going right now.
Yeah.
He walks to the ready room.
Yeah, and I think the captain will sit at his desk, and if possible, that construct that we got at the end of the last episode, that's on his shelf now with the plant.
Very nice. I love, by the way, Aaron as a game choice to have a very empty office that we can fill with stuff as it goes on. So I'd love you to keep a running log of what you have, because I think it's brilliant. So very well done, sir.
All right. Yeah. And the captain's just going to sit at his desk, and he's going to motion to Commander Ulrich to.
Commander Ulrich is reticent to sit down, and in fact, he says, "Captain, I would prefer to stand. That's all right. Was there something in particular, sir, you wanted to discuss with me?"
Yes, I want to know what's the matter.
I'm feeling slightly perturbed, sir. It's been, well, ever since we entered into this system, and ever since the events of our last encounter with an alien species, I have found myself thinking of home, sir, more often than I thought that I would, sir. And I left someone behind, sir. A romantic interest, dare I say. And with the understanding that I would be gone for 5 years, I know that will not be there when I get back, and I find myself at a bit of a loss, sir.
Then if I could ask, why did you come?
Because this is an opportunity like none other, sir. To see and experience things that no one in the Federation, let alone our galaxy, likely has experienced. To meet species like none other, to see places and Sir, it is the very heart of what Starfleet stands for. Why, how could I not come?
But some days will be hard. Did you know? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I left people behind too. My partners, my 2 children. They are 22 standard years old this year, about to leave Starfleet Academy, begin their careers. It's likely by the time that I return, they will have married, had children. I am losing time with them to be here as well, because this is what we do.
Give me a presence command, difficulty of 2.
Would composure
Absolutely,
come into
100%.
all right?
100%.
Presence command. Presence command. Yeah. Focus.
Fantastic. 2 momentum. You guys are at 4. The serious expression on the first officer's face, Commander Ulrich's face, it softens once more to that same sort of playful smile that he often wears. That, let's call it precocious nature that he seems to exude. There is something else that I'd like to ask you, Captain, if I might speak freely, sir.
By all means.
What is your stance upon, well, that is to say, your stance with regards to...
Fraternization?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that for me, among the crew, it's specifically off the table. I'm in a position of authority over everybody, and I would not regardless. But, Commander, I make no demands of a personal nature on my crew. I think on a mission like ours, things will happen. I'm fully expecting families, children on this ship within the span of our mission. And I am prepared for that. Why do you ask?
Very playful and cheeky grin. Just wanted to know what I should say to the crew when they ask, Captain.
Well, you may tell the crew that the captain is not opposed if it does not interfere with the normal functioning of this vessel.
There is a sparkly twinkle in his eye and a very cheeky grin that he cannot get rid of.
And Commander, I will leave you with this thought before I send you back to take the con.
Of course, sir.
Do you know anything about old, well, ancient Earth automobiles?
I had dabbled in a 2016 Ford Mustang GT in the holodeck at one point, but it was a passing fancy. Why do you ask?
When you drive an automobile, when you pilot a starship at warp, where do you look?
Ahead?
That's why your rearview mirror is so much smaller. Don't focus on what's behind. Focus on what's coming.
Thank you, sir. We'll Do my best to do that, sir. Anything else?
Right, you.
No.
No.
No. Yes.
Just get Mr. Thane's sensor analysis forwarded to my console here.
As you command, sir. Thank you, sir. Checking on.
You're dismissed, Commander.
Yes, of course. All right, good. Yep. All right. Oh, one last thing, sir. Do you have any good recommendations for poetry? Just send them to my console. Yeah.
I will
Appreciate it.
forward. Yes, I will
Yes,
forward.
thank
The,
you.
do you know? I imagine it's romantic.
Yes,
is
I mean perhaps for the crew, of course, that asked.
the
about
cultural
what I was-
index.
Yes,
Klingon.
correct. That would be Klingon would be something not too aggressive but formal.
No,
Very good, sir. Thank you, sir. All right,
That's a
I will
common
be
misconception,
to the comm,
Commander.
taking over. Yes,
I'm
all right.
forwarding it now.
Good. Good. And then he walks out. A little awkward, but also just like a little spring in his step. So he comes to the bridge and he calls over. Shas, do you have the readings of that vessel that we've been attempting to contact for the last hour or so?
Preliminary scans, yes. And he pivots in his chair towards the commander as he exits from the ready room. There has been some small amount of interferometric radiation emanating from the nebula that's made some initial scans somewhat difficult, but preliminary results are available for you to examine at your leisure.
Send him to my chair, please. Sits down, and he's a little bouncy, but he sits down in the captain's chair and feels pretty good. And yeah,
your mood seems very much improved.
The captain has a way of inspiring, Shas, a way of filling one's heart with hope for the future. I might be so bold as to say.
I think you have an overly optimistic impression of the captain's abilities, but I'm not a Starfleet officer, so what would I know? Can I take a scan then of that vessel and get those preliminary results?
Absolutely may. So to describe this vessel to you all, it is about the size of a runabout. It is built for function, not for any sort of looks. It is very boxy, and it looks to be leaking something. Like it's blown a gasket. All right, it's like an old Ford Model T that's fallen apart and there's black smoke coming out of the back. That is the best way I can describe this ship to you. And any attempt to contact it has been met with radio silence. But go ahead and give us a you're going to be using sensors to do this, so the ship can roll as well. Computer science, and you're going to be rolling a control science. Difficulty on this is just a 1. Because it doesn't have any shields, so you're just scanning it, as it were. Yes, we lost Brian, but that's okay. We still love him. Wow, that is fantastic.
Somebody just needs to get the ship.
Yes, and you guys will have lots of floating momentum.
Computer science?
Wouldn't it be sensor science?
Or sensor science?
Sensor science, yes, thank you.
Yeah, sensor science. Sorry.
Brilliant.
Science. Ship always has focus.
All right. Sometimes that happens. But you guys do have 1 floating momentum right now. And you also get a free question. But to answer it to you, you pick up that this ship is effectively a warp 0.5 capable vessel that has a bridge, a docking port, an engine, and maybe a cargo bay. It is scrapped together, no communication systems, no weapons, and the most basic of sensors that they look like a magnifying glass compared to a tricorder is what these sensors look like. Like it is bad. It is super basic, but they're cussing. It's rough. And what you do pick up is that their life support systems are apparently failing, and you are picking up signs that the ship itself has been burned, irradiated, damaged in some way. There's some scorching marks on it, as though it was lashed with like a flaming whip, to describe the sort of burn and the slagged markings on the metal alloys that make up its hull. But you are picking up that the life signs, although stable, likely within the next 15 minutes, they will die of asphyxiation because the life support systems are failing. You have a free question, and obviously some floating momentum to create advantages and what have you, so take it away.
So the first question I'd like to ask is, based on the initial sensor scans that I took of the nebula, can I correlate the damage that's been inflicted and the, let's say, energy patterns of the scoring with the nebula? In other words, is there a correlation between them?
Is that your question?
Yes.
Yes, there is. But to give you a caveat, there is a correlation between some of the energy fluctuations inside the nebula. However, those energy fluctuations have been, if the nebula is 100% nebula, 1% of the nebula is those fluctuations. So it's very minor, and they only happen from time to time, and you're not currently picking up any of those readings. Like trying to look for a needle in a haystack kind of thing.
Okay. The second question is, what is the substance that the vessel is actually leaking?
It is a matter-antimatter mixture. It's basically leaking warp fuel, if that makes sense. Let's
say deuterium, probably.
Let's say deuterium. That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
I said that.
That you did.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
Yeah. Okay.
I love.
I'd like to spend. Do I have to actually spend the momentum for that talent to work? Yeah, I'd like to use rapid hypothesis.
Okay.
To bring together those two observations to create a free advantage, whereby we understand the energy patterns and the specifics of ways in which they have affected the alloys of the ship, so that we can be better prepared against them. So we've got that sort of advantage of knowledge regarding the generation of these.
Love it. So if you have to interact with those, you will have one less difficulty moving forward on those. That's perfect. I love that.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
And lastly, I would like to try to sell you on something. To create a complication, I would like to actually redact certain elements of the report that I'm going to send to the commander.
Ooh.
So that he is unaware that it is not a warp-capable vessel,
okay,
and would thus not be under the auspices of the Prime Directive to avoid saving the lives of the people on board the ship.
So you want to lie to him so that he can save the people. Is that correct?
Lying is a very strong way of putting it. I want to conceal information so as to
commit
assist
a liable
him.
mission.
Yes, they're fine. That's the way you want to put it.
And by the way, yes, chat, that is a new kitten. I went away to Texas for a week, came home, and we had 5 cats. So this is where we're at now. That is our little. That's our little Harley. So she's super cute. Miss Quinn. So yeah.
Let me just ask a question. You said that the vessel was a warp 0.5 vessel.
Correct.
So in other words, it can't actually reach warp.
Correct. It goes fast-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So it's a sublight vessel.
Correct.
All right. Then in that case, not knowing anything about the culture and whether they're actually capable of warp travel or how this vessel got out here, he is going to redact that from the port.
I love it.
And because that's basically taking a complication, would I take another point of determination for that?
Yes.
Very good. So with all that information, he's quickly going to compile that report in summary form and send that to the commander's pad or panel and announce to him, I've compiled a summative report of the analysis of the vessel. Their life support is in danger of failing. I suggest we intervene as quickly as possible.
Looks, scans, swipes. Send a copy of this to the captain. Helm, take us in. Tactical, lock on with transporters. Let's bring them aboard. Security, get a team down there. Prepare to meet them. Taps his comm badge. Captain, we have found the ship that we've been tracking. We've found that their life support systems are failing, and I recommend that we bring them aboard. Shaz seems to think that they are going to, well, die, sir, if we don't intervene.
Well, if that's the case, lock onto the ship with the tractor beam and prepare to beam the survivors aboard. I will be out momentarily.
Aye, sir. And we watch as the Erebus swoops
Occupants,
in.
rather than survivors.
Swoops in, not the survivors. We watch as the Erebus
There were no
swoops in.
survivors.
And as the Erebus swoops in, we are going to actually cut over. We're actually going to cut over to this vessel, which there is a slagged scorch mark over the name. But, Ulzi, I would like you to tell us what the name of the vessel is in your own native tongue, translated obviously into American English, if you wouldn't so mind. Not Canadian English, so do it American.
I was wondering if you were asking me to make up a language on the fly, and
I
I
was
was like,
not.
well, I guess.
I was not.
This is the Immaculate Inquisitor, or the Double Eye.
The double I. I like it. That's very good. So we cut to the interior of this vessel, which is a ramshackle of parts, mismatched panels, whirling lights, buzzing alarms, and we see gas and rocks falling, as it were, as they often do. And we see both your character and, of course, Sidereal Day. And I'd like you both to take just a moment to describe your characters to us, based on the images I've provided, and what you two are currently doing, as it has become very clear to you that your ship is likely going to, well, not make it back home. So take a moment. We'll start with Brian. We'll go to Sidereal Day, and then I'd like you two to just have a brief moment together before you are consumed by blue light and transported to the Erebus.
So Ulzi is an iridescent, like, reptilian race. So he's got a very reptilian face. He's also only about 4 foot. Pretty, like, honestly, just picture, like, anybody who's playing Baldur's Gate right now, picture a gnome, but with a lizard face instead of a. So that sort of like iridescent scaled skin, but that same sort of body proportion of being about 3.5 feet, stocky, but not as stocky as a halfling. Pretty slender limbs, but like oversized hands, oversized feet, and the head's a little bit bigger than the body seems to be able to support. And he's currently sitting in what you would assume to be the pilot's chair, and just sort of like, I wouldn't say panickedly tapping in commands, but he is like doing things in a brisk manner, but he doesn't appear to be overly concerned.
I like it. Sidereal Day.
So Maldreath is more draconic looking than reptilian. She, according to the picture I've been provided.
Perfect.
She's got like purplish horns coming up her head, going back a little bit. She's taller than Ulzi by a noticeable amount, but built along the same kind of sturdy reptilian draconic lines. And like Ulzi, she's not panicking, but it's clear that this is not her area of expertise. She's doing less than he is, and instead seems to more be staring out what they have of a view screen, staring at the nebula.
So as far as the view screen goes, I want you to imagine any images you've seen of like the space station or even some of the shuttles, like Discovery and whatnot, with the very small windows up front. So it's very tiny little viewports is what you have. And you can just barely make out this swirling nebula, this gas. There's some reds and purples and blues and yellows. It's this young stellar nursery, right? And you can see it. And as you are looking out, Meladrath, you think for a moment, you see what looks like the images that you'll see of like electrical impulses along neurons, some of the videos and the artist renditions of those sort of pulses, you think you see this kind of pulse through the swirling gases that almost seems in this moment, Meladreth, to almost be like a neon sign, like it's pointing to something. It almost looks like a hand and a finger pointing to somewhere deeper in the nebula. It is a split second, a flash. You see this, Olsley does not. But I'd like you two to just take a moment as alarms are buzzing, bells are whistling and ding-a-linging, and I'd like you to just take a moment to start to inhabit these characters. Are you speaking to one another? Are you simply frantically tapping consoles? Take a moment, please.
Olsey is narrating what he's doing, so he's like, "Oh, this shouldn't be a problem. Well, I think if I just invert the backup osmotic field actuator, I should actually be able to." Oh no, okay, that didn't work, and that's all right. You know,
We're not going to succeed.
well, that is certainly not the necessarily the case. I can just try and reset the backup nucleonic field grid. That'll just take a minute, and with Ubriella's blessing, then okay, nope, that's not going to work either, and that's okay.
I'm sorry I dragged you into this.
Oh, dragged is such a violent term. I volunteered for this, I think. I'm just going to try and synchronize the nanoplasma frequency coil, and hopefully that will shut down the. Well, we're still leaking atmosphere, but I have managed to redirect power to the sensors. It's not helpful, but it did something. Just a moment. I'm going to modify the primary tachyon invariance array.
Thank you for getting me this far. It's further than I thought I'd make it.
Oh, come. Dude, that's such a pessimistic view. The adventure's not over yet. I'm sure something will happen that will maybe if I just redirect the nonlinear thermionic distortions.
And at the mention of redirect the nonlinear thermionic distortions, that I just mumbled those words because that was brilliant. You watch Olsley as Meladreth is completely illuminated in a blue light and disappears before your eyes. A moment later, DerWolf is apparently drunk. Thank you, Lovecraft. But a moment later, we watch as you yourself are also illuminated in blue light. You watch your hands and everything disappear before you. And you find yourselves both standing on a beautiful, just resplendent, bright platform. Everything is colorful, clean, crisp lines, the most fanciful looking, just like ship you've ever seen. All right, it is night and day compared to the ramshackle mess that you guys were standing in. And I'm assuming the captain is there to meet them, along with... Now, Shaz, would you have come or would you have stayed on the bridge?
Oh, come on, you're coming.
Yeah, I think he would have gone.
Okay, Shaz has come as well. And the first officer will stay on the bridge, which is totally fine. But the two of you now see these two aliens standing before you. You two aliens see these other two aliens standing before you. And I leave the scene to all of you in this moment.
Hello, I'm Captain Ezra Shruth. Welcome aboard the USS Erebus. We detected you were having some problems and thought it would be best to bring you aboard.
Yes.
Well,
This is my chief science officer,
Shaz Chathane, yes.
Well, I am Oldsey. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. And then he extends his arm with his elbow out.
Shash kind of awkwardly attempts to reciprocate the gesture. Are either of you in need of medical attention? Your life support systems were in the process of failing.
They were failing, but we're fine. I am Meldreth. And she repeats the gesture of greeting.
This time Shast does not move forward, and he just sort of like gives a side eye to the captain.
Yeah, I think the captain will move forward and do his best to try to mimic the gesture.
Well, I assume that you were sent by Ubriela?
No, we were sent by the United Federation of Planets.
And the Starfleet Science Council.
What
Did
is
you-
this Federation of Planets?
It is a interplanetary nation state from another galaxy.
And this is your vessel, your ship.
Yes, we're on a mission of exploration.
Exploration. Can your ship survive entering the nebula?
Given my initial sensor scans, Captain, although there are certain regions that would pose a greater threat to the ship, we should be able to survive in them, yes.
Then,
We are on a
yes,
very important mission that would require us to go into there.
in your shuttle.
Yes.
Into the nebula, yes. But it's the home of Ubriela.
You've mentioned this
who is this?
Ubriela before. Yes. Who is this?
The one who lives in the nebula.
Our patron, our protector. Shield and sword.
The grantor of life. The one who sees above all.
That sounds almost religious. Are you speaking
It
about
is.
a deity?
Yes.
Yes.
Deity. Yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it is only by the grace of Ubriela that we have made it this far.
And your people don't believe that this would be some sort of gross offense against
They do.
Ubriela to... Oh, okay.
Well, Maldreath maybe spoke a little too quickly. There are factions who believe that it would be inappropriate
Heretical.
for us to approach our deity in such a way. But there are also those who believe that a more personal connection could be established if we could simply make ourselves noticed. And so I built a shuttle, and Maldreath arranged for us to have the permissions and the type of funding that we would need. And I spoke to my compatriots on the council, and we decided that it was a good investment.
Well, Maldreath, I do appreciate your candor and forthrightness and brevity.
It is heretical to the clan I grew up in. So perhaps I spoke quickly because of my own upbringing.
Have you attempted to establish communications with this Ubriela before?
There have been attempts over the years. Nothing like this. But when we were heading to the nebula, I saw before your ship rescued us a sign from Ubriela pointing deeper into the nebula.
I knew it.
What did you see?
A hand pointing.
Seemed to be a fairly strong indicator.
I will admit that our sensor scans did not detect anything of that sort. And
I saw it
believe
with my eyes, not with a sensor.
Ah. Must be a fascinating experience. And he scratches at the scarring along his sort of milky white eyes.
My apologies.
It's quite all right.
Wait, what? Why are we apologizing?
His eyes are not blessed.
Oh, I assumed that there was some sort of like cultural thing. Perhaps.
You needn't worry about it. It's like I said, it's quite all right. Perhaps we should continue this conversation with the rest of the senior staff in your conference room, Captain.
Agreed. And yeah, he'll tap his comm badge and order the senior staff to report to the briefing room.
Perfect. Unfortunately, the doctor and the chief of security are both very deep into some projects and are unavailable at this time as they are working on a potential cure together. The doctor seems to think that Klingon DNA might hold the key. So she's she's been drawing several vials from our chief security officer. But I digress. But you do have the first officer. You have Shaz. We have the captain. We have Lieutenant Commander Flitz. And then we also have, obviously, our 2 new aliens with us as well, with the aliens that are new to them. But you see them all sitting in the conference room, the nebula swirling and seemingly alive outside of the view screen. It is a sight to behold. It is not unlike the nebula you see behind me, in my image, with some reds and some yellows and whatnot. It almost looks angry, but also beautiful. The best way to describe it. But please, take it away, gentlemen and lady.
Presuming that there's a big like bay window,
Yeah.
similar to the as soon as Ulti gets in, he's like, oh, licks both of his fingers, touches his horns on this. He's got 4 little horns. Just does the and then does the acknowledgement of the nebula, and then goes and sits in a chair.
Maldrith stops, stares at it for a little while, does not repeat the gesture before going to sit in a chair.
Now,
yes.
Perhaps you do not know that you are agents of Ubre Ela, but I think it is quite obvious from the turn of events that it would be to both of our advantages for you to take your wondrous ship here into the nebula and allow Maldrith to establish her personal connection.
Well, we have some standard procedures that we would need to undertake before we potentially trespassed on another culture's holy site.
Oh, of course. Yes, your United Federation of Planets would have rules. That makes sense.
Shas grimaces at this and then interjects. And in fact, considering the sociological ramifications of allowing you access to this holy site, I believe that the Prime Directive would preclude our intervention in this matter, wouldn't it not, Captain?
It may well indeed, Dr.
Oh, I don't think that there's any doubt.
He hates himself so much right now.
He's
and I love
just
it.
like
He hates himself so much.
The captain's just like doing the Grinch smile, like it just goes up the entire side of his head. His antennas curl up.
Are your people capable of faster than light travel?
With Ubre Ela's help, we are capable of anything.
Have you accomplished faster than light? Have your people accomplished faster than light travel?
Theoretically, it is possible. We haven't quite mastered the art of creating a bubble that takes our lightened substances to outside of the space-time. But we're close, very close.
So you have an ample theoretical understanding of subspace dynamics necessary to achieve a stable warp field, but you're just in the process of constructing such a vessel.
I am not personally as well versed in the science. I am aware that that we have been able to, obviously, with the ship that we have out. By the way, did the ship survive? Is it possible for you to use your ship to perhaps pick it up and bring it to your bosom?
It very much blew up, did it not?
You know what? You tell me, Flitz. Did it blow up?
I ordered a tractor beam on
You
it.
did.
We
did get the tractor beam.
You did.
And it caused it to explode because it's so rickety.
You know what?
That'd be hilarious.
Let's have saved it.
I love it. We've saved it. All right, perfect.
Go ahead.
I am aware that that it is theoretically possible to take the materials that we've taken and generate some sort of field. However, I am not as familiar with the science as I am with the gravitational component, because that is my specialty.
I see.
Fascinating.
Is there a reason for this question?
Curiosity.
Wait, does your ship go faster than light?
Considering we come from another galaxy, I think the answer would be self-evident.
Not necessarily. Perhaps you are a generational ship. I have read studies and stories of such.
Are you aware of the distance between galaxies?
Yes, it would take many generations.
To say the least.
Besides, I don't know how long-lived your species are. Perhaps you don't live for the 300 or 400 years that are customary for most of us.
300 to 400 years.
Are you?
I mean,
For Andorians, our upper limit on lifespan is approximately 130 years.
oh,
We have species in our Federation that do live for centuries. Vulcans, for example, live to be approximately 200 years.
Theoretically, I could live forever.
Yes.
in the bosom of Umbrella.
Perhaps. He looks over at the captain like, the hell are we gonna do?
Perhaps, unless there are any other questions for our visitors, we should discuss the logistics of any assistance that we might provide to them.
Quite. For the meantime.
Captain, if I might ask a question, says the first officer, who is here in the room.
Go ahead, Commander.
What do you all hope to find inside the nebula? Obviously, you've mentioned this Uberella, your deity or benefactor, blesser, would refer to it, but do you hope to find a temple, a gateway, a being that you can reach out and shake hands with? What do you
Not
actually
shake
hope?
hands. Not shake hands, no. Speak with.
If you were to find this being, what would you ask them?
Nothing. Other than that they are.
You are trying to prove its existence.
No. Whether Ubrella lives or not, that's a scripture fight. I'm not looking for a scripture fight. I'm looking for something beyond a priest telling me how I must pray.
A direct
Why should
experience.
I only...
A direct experience of the divine, then.
To start. After that, just the ability to say, Ubrella, hear me. And whether the Ubrella hears me or not, to know that it's all right to say it that way and not follow prayers that mean nothing. Words that don't resonate, but that we must say if we wish to express anything.
Your people fight wars over such things?
Verbal wars. The last physical war was long ago. It's all politics.
But the politics are tiresome. Really, it is the practical application of the teachings of Uber Ele that really inspire our people. And to know that those practical applications could be used to perhaps meet Uber Ele themselves. My people are long-lived, but they lack motivation.
Yes. Change is difficult. Stagnation is easy.
Given the lack of violent conflict in your relatively recent history, which probably, given your lifespan, would be ancient history for us, you are fair sight more respectable than many of the species in our own galaxy when it pertains to matters of religious difference.
It has not always been thus. But
there are stories of other Ubre, but now Ubre Ele is the only remaining.
Blitz is so far out of his league, just like up. The hell?
Shas, was there any indication of intelligent life within the nebula?
Not based on the initial scans, although there was a degree of nucleogenic radiation emanating from the nebula, which could actually correlate with certain life forms that have taken on the physical appearance of nebula in the past. I believe the Starship Voyager encountered one such being. It could be that the nebula itself is Uber Ele.
The nebula is a stellar nursery, is it not?
It is.
I take your meaning, Captain.
Okay.
But all of that is pure speculation at this point. We would need more in-depth scans and perhaps even penetration into the nebula in order to ascertain the nature of those intermittent energy signatures we were detecting.
Shas, I'd like you to work with medical to determine if these pulses bear any similarity to a biological process common in most known forms of life.
Respectfully, it might be so alien as to defy any comparison with organic life such as we understand it. This might be a task better suited for astrometrics. However, I will liaise with Sick Bay if you wish.
Loop them in, you never know. And so, GM, did we get the ship? Is it okay?
Yeah,
is there
you
a
got
little
the ship?
Okay,
It's fine. It's in the shuttle bay.
Commander Flitz, I'd like you to take a look at their vessel.
Indeed, Captain.
If that would be all right with you two.
Oh, of course. As ambassadors of Uber Ele, I would be hard pressed to deny you anything. But I would love to watch the man over here view our ship, as I built it with my own two hands.
Well, Commander Flitz, you'll have an audience, I see.
Impressive. Shall we then, sir?
And Oltsy slips off the chair because it's high for him, and then trundles off in Flitz's wake.
Love that. I love that. I want to leave the scene with Meldreth and the captain and Shaz, the first officer, asked to be dismissed, and head back to the bridge to make sure everything's good and take some more scans. And I want to leave the scene with you guys for a moment. If you choose to take it, you can. If you want to pass the torch, you're welcome to do so as well.
I do actually have a question for Meldreth as the others have departed. Meldreth, you said that the faction of your people to which you previously belonged believed it to be heresy to seek out your divinity.
To go into the nebula, yes.
If you did so and returned, can you speculate as to the impact it might have on your people?
I suppose it would depend whether they who believed me, who didn't, who cared, who didn't.
I appreciated your earlier candor and forthrightness. Now you're being evasive.
It's not on purpose. I don't know. You're asking me to speculate on something that could change everything or could change nothing. I've been declared outcast by my clan, so they won't listen to me no matter what I tell them. And I don't know enough of the other factions on planet to say. I'm from an isolationist group, I suppose you could call them.
And he seems slightly taken aback at that as he leans back in his chair. I thank you for again that candor, and I'm sorry that your pursuit of truth and your pursuit of what you believe to be right has alienated you from those you cared about.
It's important to me to do this. I knew I would pay a price. I haven't yet hit one I'm unwilling to pay. Perhaps I will, with your aid in this, or perhaps I won't.
I hope we can help you.
Where you're sitting, Meldra, you have a beautiful, like, bay window style view of the nebula, and once again, there is this arc of like lightning that traverses through the nebula, illuminating it. And once again, it looks like the nerve endings of almost like an arm going to a finger. And there seems to be a flash of light at the end, and that flash of light seems to illuminate in this moment what looks to be a structure. I want you to imagine a diamond-like structure that almost looks like somewhat reminiscent of the style of temples to Uberela that you've seen on your own planet. It is once again a split second, like a flash of lightning. But you see it. He says, I hope you can help you. You see that. You can choose to absorb that, let it pass, or you can choose to point it out. It's entirely up to you right now. Up to you.
Meldrith stands up. There is something there in the nebula. I've seen it twice now. So yes, I think you can help me.
Well, I'll advocate for it with the captain, despite the regulations that might otherwise preclude us from assisting you.
I appreciate it.
Don't thank me yet.
Anything else before we pivot scenes over to the... All right, we're going to go over to the shuttle bay, where we see the incredibly scorched, nasty-looking slag hunk of metal. I want you to imagine a Battletech mech warrior style of, like, ramshackled parts put together, but in spaceship form. Aaron will understand and appreciate that reference, as will some of the other people at the table, which is brilliant. And as you are scanning this ship, Lieutenant Commander Flitz, as you are scanning the ship, you notice that the scorch marks that look like a flaming whip had lashed at the ship. You notice that there is a... It almost seems like there is a residue, like a kind of shiny, somewhat translucent residue that seems to, it's a very thin layer, a very thin layer. But it appears to be, when you get close to it with your scanner, it appears to react to being scanned, almost as like almost like an amoeba that is being poked or is reacting to electrical impulses, kind of thing. It seems alive almost, but it is quickly dying in the atmosphere, inside of the shuttle bay. That makes sense.
Is there any way we could like capture it in a force field or something?
Absolutely.
Do I think?
100%.
Okay. I would like to
You
attempt
have
to do
future
that.
magic, science. You have science, future magic. So yes, you can. You can
Who else
save
is...
and collect a small sample. You have this. You have Brian with you. You have Olsey with you. Several other basic engineers that are there to help you look at the ship. Yeah.
I will call to the ensign, like to the closest ensign.
Hi, sir. Yes.
I need you to set up a small containment field around some of this substance that's coalescing.
Right away, sir. Do you have a particular level of? I'll just do a level 3. That's fine. Yes, sir. All right. Moves off and starts doing it. You got one of those little boxes, a little platform, and transports actually some of the substance and like a portion of the ship into the little containment field. Vents the atmosphere, basically creates it inside like it is the void of space. Sets the temperature down so that it is matching, and you watch as the substance seems to ebb and flow like the water would. Like if you've ever gone to the beach and you've watched the water come in and then it makes everything wet and then you can see it drain out, you can see it drain from the sand. That's what it looks like it's doing to the piece of metal. Like it's flowing up the metal and then it retracts back down kind of into the metal and then it kind of flows up the metal then back down. It almost looks like it's making the metal. Oh, by the way, you guys have an extra momentum from chat. Thank you. It almost looks like it's almost looks like it's moisturizing. That's the word I can think. Like it's like the metal's becoming wet and infused with a watery substance, and then it's drying, and it's like it's going back and forth, and that's the information I'm going to give you. You can start to ask questions, make some checks. Like if you want to ask some questions, I'll tell you some checks, but that's what you have to work with right now. And obviously, Osley, you're there as well to help as you see fit.
So he's gonna start running a scan. Find out whatever he can, and as he's initiating the scan, he's gonna look over. Olsey, do you know what this substance is?
I do not. I did notice that while we were flying toward the nebula, we had it seemed almost as if the nebula was reaching out to greet us, and then we had the ship violently shook, and then we were venting atmosphere.
So, Olsey, I'm going to give you something here. You're going to make a check. Difficulty on this is at 3, all right? Because it's some ancient religious knowledge. However, I'm going to have you make a presence and command, difficulty 3 check. You do have a focus.
Okay.
Religion. You guys also have 6 momentum. Feel free to run with it. Also, it's difficulty 3, but it goes down to difficulty 2 because somebody set up an advantage in the past, so you're dealing with the nebula. Hey, look at this fucking guy. He's guy over here making the game using the rules. I hate it.
I would like to spend one of our momentum to roll 3 dice, please.
I love that journey for you.
That bonus momentum that was bought by chat actually was like a 7th floating momentum. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh, use it. Yeah, it's perfect. So you make it right on the money, which is actually brilliant. Yes. So this substance reminds you, honestly, of an ancient bit of Uberlay. Uberlele? That's what I said. Uberale. That's what I said. Making up names. Uberla. I love you guys so much. I'm having so much fun.
You made the name up.
I know. It's fine. I do this all the time with NPCs. I'll make up weird names, then I can't fucking say them. But it's fine. Ukulele. So, yes. But no, this reminds you of an ancient script that actually is like it is like the Adam and Eve story. It's like the Adam and Eve story of your people's society, your people's, how they came to be.
The creation story.
It is the creation story. And it is said that the water of life ebbed and flowed forth from your god, and like tears fell upon your planet. And it is from those tears, like she basically, like tears of blood, she bled for you, and it was that blood from whence you, as who you are, sprung up and walked upon the ground that she had blessed with her very life, with your god's very life. So this, it reminds you of the stories and the way in which it was described as ebbing and flowing, you guys rising up from it, which is interesting. So do with that as you see fit.
Otzi will immediately drop into like, you have been blessed by Ubraela. See, she has allowed you to collect some of her lifeblood, the lifeblood that has given life to the Savi.
It has. Can you? This is from a story of your people?
Yes, it is said that in the beginning, Ubraela stood between the Savi or the world of the Savi and some other gods. These gods had other ideas. Ubra Andadeng and Ubra Eindeng were both had different ideas for the land, and there was a battle, some sort of conflict between them. In the conflict, Ubraela was wounded, and she had to retreat towards the land, and her lifeblood fell to the ground, and it ebbed and flowed like water, and as it did so, the first Savi were born of that miasma, and the faith that they provided Ubraela gave her the strength to continue the fight, and thus she was able to create an environment in which the Savi could thrive.
While he's describing that, what are my sensors finding? Because I want like the like
that
the
is
kind
a
of dichotomy
phenomenal
of the two of
question.
them.
Give me a control and science difficulty of 3, but actually a 2 because of the advantage you guys have on this.
Control, not reason.
Reason.
Yes.
Excuse me. Reason. I got you.
I get an automatic.
I know. I gotta want to do things without reasons, so I can fuck you over because I'm a real piece of shit.
Well, actually, the rules say.
Actually, DerWolf, you're wrong. That's fair. I usually am.
Reason. What was it? Reason.
Science.
Engineering?
Science.
Yeah. Science. Okay. And I am going to take 2 dice.
I love that.
Or yeah, 2 dice.
So 3 momentum. You're crazy.
It's 4.
You're out of control.
And then do I have a applicable focus? Perhaps.
What are your foci? I
have Starship Propulsion Systems, Starship Power Systems, Starship Computer Systems, Theoretical Experimental Physics, and the Regent class.
It's gonna be a no, Bob.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
You're red. I see red. Oh, he gets it. And he gets momentum back. That's good. But I do see a red in there. All right. I'm going to pocket the momentum for later.
Actually,
right.
I get +1.
Yeah. You get 2 momentum back. Okay, aren't you cool? All right, good stuff. All right.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I am very cool.
Actually, the rules. That's fine. You guys are awesome. But yes, so here's what's interesting. This substance, it reminds you of what you have read and what you have downloaded, because you're an android, on the evolution that has taken place on most planets, this sort of primordial miasma, as it were. And you are reading very basic, microscopic life, like single-celled organisms, like with little flagellum all flagelling around, and this substance seems to be not itself alive, but made of a bunch of living things that by all rights probably shouldn't be able to exist out in the vastness of space in an interstellar nursery where stars are being born. But it does, which is interesting, and it seems to really like the metal. In fact, it seems to be slowly consuming it. But it's a very slow process to where it would take, even just for the small piece, it would take it weeks, if not months, to completely consume.
And
but
it's still,
yeah,
it's also encased in a force field, correct?
correct. Yes. But it's going to town. Just it ebbs and flows over, and it's just like it's eating it basically. It's interesting. Hey, Drill.
Would your people be offended if we studied this?
Oh no, if Ubraela has given you a piece of herself, then that is a blessing that Ubraela can deliver.
He looks over at the ensign. Ensign, I need you to report to Mr. Shas with this. Inform him of what our reptilian friend here has told us about his people's stories, and I am going to send him my sensor results.
Yes, aye, sir. And he will pick up the little box and run off with it and head off to Astrometrics, which is where I think Shaz had gone to. If not, please correct me and tell me where you're at.
Yeah, it was Astrometrics liaising with some of the medical personnel as well.
Love it. So we're going to head off, and he brings you over this primordial ooze. This is Ensign John, because I don't have a name for him right now. Name is John Johnson, but that's fine. There's a John Johnson on the... It's canon now. There's a John Johnson on the ship. Perfect. John Johnson the Fourth. All right, but John Johnson the Fourth, he drops off this container, gives you a brief rundown of what Lieutenant Commander Flitz had discovered. Says that he'd like a report back whenever you have a chance to look at it, and thanks you for your time. And John Johnson the Fourth leaves. There you go.
Goodbye, Johnny.
Thank you, sir.
Is anyone actually assisting me there in terms of supporting characters from any of the other main cast?
I would love to see a science. I would love to see a medical officer from the captain, and a medical officer from the from the engineer. So you guys pick your medical officers. Tell us who's there, and let's get after it.
Well, if you want a medical officer from me, there's only one that I have, and that is Dr. Keeve Dottig, the Tellarite.
Tellarites.
Yeah, Brian might remember him.
And I have my Cation medic specialist Hool.
Take it away. Take it away, friends. Get after it.
So I suspect that Shas has already set up in Astrometrics and begun sort of orchestrating the data and conducting preliminary sensor scans when the two doctors enter in.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Doc, we were told to report to you, sir.
Please make this brief. I was in the middle of a very, very important experiment.
Aren't you one of the junior doctors? Do you even have important experiments?
All medical research has value.
course it does. You keep telling yourself that, Doctor.
And I'm a medic. I don't know why I'm here.
You'll have to talk with the CMO because she's the one who assigned you to me.
I won't. She's scary.
I will talk to her. Relax.
Please don't tell her this, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I won't. Trust me.
Of course.
His tail's a little puffed up. His ears are laying back.
You've been called here because we believe that the nebula, and he points to the display that's up on the astrometrics charts, may in fact either house life or be a form of life in itself.
Ridiculous.
Given that Starfleet already has documented evidence of life forms that take the appearance of a nebula, I think that your skepticism is utterly unfounded, Doctor. Even obtuse, one might say.
Well, perhaps, but we can't have everybody agreeing with everything you say, and not even Starfleet.
I think that just gives me the the ability to have an open mind about things. Nonetheless, if you'll join
You
me.
keep telling yourself that.
I do every day. It's part of my morning ritual.
I love him, Aaron. I love him.
Can we get to what we're supposed to be doing? And stop arguing loudly?
You really know how to suck the fun out of everything, you know.
I mean, I can have fun.
Argument, debate is a sport.
Yeah, I'm not a Tellarite, dude. Doc,
Dude.
I mean, Doc, sir.
Oh, dude.
Sir.
I apologize. Is it ensign? Crewman?
Specialist second class?
Crewman. I must admit, I've been attempting to make the good doctor here more comfortable, responding to in a way that his people appreciate. I didn't mean to do the opposite for you.
Okay. So we have work to do, right? Let's do that.
All right,
Very
let's
good.
get to it.
My first thought was that we examine the nucleogenic particle emissions to see if there's any correlation, as the captain requested, with neurological phenomenon of known species and use that as a baseline. Although my medical knowledge is rather limited, so I'll leave most of that to you.
I think, in all honesty, it's a good place to start, but perhaps we can add to it. Maybe a compositional analysis of the nebula to determine if there's anything remotely resembling neuroreceptors.
There might be pockets of subspace distortion that serve a similar function, although, and he takes out the sample of the life's blood that's been provided to them. This apparently was left behind as a residue on the shuttlecraft that we took in. It may provide us with more information.
Yeah, I think Dr. Dottig will open his medical tricorder and scan the little object.
Hool looks like hypnotized by like the light swirls. Yeah. He's got the like big Puss in Boots eyes, like
Reason and medicine. Okay.
you might do that. But you might.
All right.
Do you want a momentum with that?
So that's yeah. I'm gonna grab a momentum.
Yeah,
so
go for
reason
it.
medicine. That's gonna be a. I didn't upload his character sheet. I got the PDF here. I haven't done it yet because I'm terrible. But I'm gonna roll. We're looking for 14s. And here's a question. He is something of an authority on a medical science called genetronics, which utilizes certain radiation to regenerate and sort of bolster cells. Basically, he's a kind of a mad scientist, but because Genetronics is, at least at the time of TNG, was looked upon with a vast degree of skepticism by the wider medical community because it was extremely dangerous. But I wonder if I can use that knowledge or leverage the knowledge of sort of beneficial types of radiation, since the nebula seems to be replete with it, and sort of look at comparisons with things that came later, like say the metagenic radiation in the rings of the Baku homeworld, and just see if there's any correlation there. I'm trying to sell you on this focus, in case you're wondering. All right, thank you. That is 2 successes.
I am
No.
muted, and I have been muted, and I apologize. I'm super sorry. My wife, I have a guest here, and they were in the hallway, and they were talking very loudly, and I apologize. I don't know how long I've been muted for, but I will respond with yes. You may sell me on that. Yes, the radiation is there. All of that is correct. And
Okay.
you are of the conclusion, I fucked up so bad. I'm the worst. I'm literally the
No,
worst. I'm just messing everything
I've
up.
heard you this whole
Yeah,
time.
we could hear you.
Oh, you could hear me.
We could
That's
hear, we
good.
could hear you
Yes.
I could
fine.
hear you
Yeah.
the
You
whole
could hear me.
time. Yeah.
That's good.
You're
So
muted on stream.
So TLDR, TLDR, yes, the radiation is correct.
Okay.
And the only way that this bacteria could exist is if this radiation existed in the nebula somewhere. There was likely a very powerful source of it. What that source is, you're not sure. But that is what you get. So, continue. I'm the worst.
Well, Dr. Thane, it looks like you might be right.
Well,
Take a look at these readings.
to be fair, the captain was right because it was his theory, but
Well, we won't
I'll
tell
take the
him.
credit for it.
If you'd like me to explain, I will use small words.
I'm not that deficient, Doctor. Although my medical knowledge may be limited, my astrophysics is not.
And now Dr. Dottie will proceed to explain everything that the GM has just said.
Interjected every once in a while with like incredulous noises or funny questions from Pool.
You know, this might simply be the fact that I'm conditioned to this kind of response because of Dr. Datig's presence, but I'm starting to ask the question as to why you were sent here as well.
I'm a combat medic. I mean, I'm occasionally useful in the laboratory, but my training's as a medic.
At any rate, well, Doctor, I don't exactly know where we're to proceed from here. We've established that this does seem to be some form of life, but interacting with it or communicating with it would be a dubious prospect.
Maybe if we observe it in its natural habitat for a period of hours, days, weeks, we could establish patterns of behavior. Perhaps determine if it's part of a larger biological system, similar to digestive microbes, for instance. It is eating away at this metal.
Mr. Kitty Cat Man, you're watching the nebula on the astrometric view screen, the image of the nebula. and you see a flash of light. Kind of looks like nerve endings. And it kind of looks like a hand. Seems to point at a weird, slightly illuminated structure for just a moment near the heart of this nebula.
He'll give it that like double take and then do that like long kind of cat stare.
Mhm.
Then he's gonna go up to the panel and like replay the like whatever video of the nebula that they were capturing.
So enhance.
Yeah, slow it down.
You see, as you slow it down, there's this arc, like like a electrical impulse along along neurons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or along like your nerve endings.
Mm-hmm.
Goes all the way down, arcing, branching, splintering out, and then it comes down to what looks like a hand, like a little finger, and it points, and there's a burst of light that seems to illuminate what looks like a dark triangular structure that appears to be at the heart of this nebula. It is a triangle with a rectangle and then another triangle that is smaller on the bottom. All right, so big triangle, wide rectangle at the center, and then a little tiny rectangle at the bottom. Almost looks like a dagger with a hilt. The top part is bigger, the dagger part is smaller. Kind of looks like a dagger, and it is illuminated. Looks dark, but it's definitely something. It could be an asteroid, but it kind of looks like a structure. It looks almost too. It looks too perfect to be just an asteroid. It looks constructed. It's hard to tell because it is, again, just a brief. It's like one frame, right? That you see this, but that's what you have. That is what you see.
He's gonna rewind to that frame, enhance as much as he can, all like window after window of like whatever sensor readings he can get off of everything, and then turn around and say, doctors, what's that?
Well, that is what is that?
Well, whatever it is, it's the product of your keen eye that we found it. So I suppose I do understand why you were brought down here.
Doing my best.
Aww.
Can I actually take any directed sensor scans of that region to ascertain anything about this?
When you scan that region, I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. Your sensors can't penetrate the nebula. Boop.
Well, Dr. Dotig, I'm rather loath to remain here for several weeks in order to aggregate sensor readings from the nebula.
No, I agree. Why don't we just go to that thing?
That does seem to be the most expedient course, yes. Although we could leave some sensor buoys behind and just continue on our merry way.
Good night, everybody.
I
Thanks for stopping in, Brian.
I guess it's up to the captain, right?
Sadly, yes. So
I don't like him much.
we have much to discuss, Doctor.
Oh God. Can you discuss? He's just gonna like disappear as much as he can. Like, please, dear God, he does not want to hear this.
Like that cat in the doorway looks at you, its tail flicks, and then just bolts.
Yeah.
I love that. And before we take our intermission, because we're gonna take a quick 10-minute here, 5 to 10. I'd like our last scene is actually going to be with a certain alien, Meldreth. You are by a window, still looking out at the nebula, and there is this. You see the same flash of like light that comes down and like through this, but you also hear something. You hear something like something spoken, almost like something is whispered to you. And it is an old, like, it is like the last couple of words of an old hymn that your mother used to sing to you, like
Oh, a
when you were a
him.
child, like a hymn. Yes, a hymn. Him.
Him.
That's what I said.
Him.
That's what I said.
Him.
We'll fix it in
Just
post.
like him.
We'll fix it in post. Hymn. It's an old hymn that your mother used to sing to you, and it is the last couple of like words and the melody. But as you look over your shoulder, there is no one there. And we're just gonna end with that. And we're gonna go to a quick 10-minute break. We can grab some water. We don't have to eat because we already have. Thank you, everyone. I'm just kidding. It's so good. But we'll be back here. Hope you guys are having fun. Viewers, we'll be back here in about 10 minutes. We're just gonna take a quick little breaky poo here. Allow our wonderful role players here to, well, to take a quick break. And we'll be back with part 2 of our adventure, and we'll see what the captain decides to do and what else is going on. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Bring us about maximum
All right. Speaking of the favorite group that I'm playing with right now, we're back, everybody, for part 2 of
Hey.
session 4 with our wonderful 2 guest stars. Thank you again, guys, for being here. We last left off our intrepid adventurers, our Starfleet and not Starfleet people, as it were, and aliens. They had discovered some weird things about this nebula, some bacteria, some maybe some weird radiation. There could be a superstructure of some sort inside. I didn't say superstructure, just a structure. And this weird electrical impulsy kind of thing that seems to keep pointing towards it. And then also, I mean, Sidereal Day's character might be crazy. We'll find out. We'll find out more. But we're going to pick back up in the conference room with everyone having congregated with the information. And now I'm eating. Look at that. I'm doing it. Sue me. All right? I'm going to do it. Look at Matthew's eating too. I love it. All right. Okay, I'm done. But anyway, we are going to pick back up. And I will leave the scene to all of you as you've congregated. You've done a little research. And take it away, my friends.
So I suspect the meeting begins with a sort of summative presentation on the part of Shasta Thane. He's standing in front of one of those display screens in the conference room, pointing out, and this is, and he gestures towards this still image and the crackle of lightning in the form of a kind of neurological impulse or neuron impulse, is the nucleogenic discharge that seems to approximate the function of well, for lack of a better word, the brain of an animal, at least the electrochemical signals therein. And at the heart of this phenomenon lies what appears to be a structure.
Fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
Shas, are there any power emanations? Are we within range to get life form readings?
Unfortunately, no. Sensors are incapable of penetrating into the nebula, whether that's simply due to ionic interference and nucleogenic radiation fields, or if it's some deliberate attempt at obfuscation of the nature of this facility, it remains to be seen.
I would imagine that if Ubra Ela is showing her home so viscerally, like, you can't imagine there would be any deliberate obfuscation.
I wouldn't speculate as to God's motivations, but there you go.
Did I learn anything from the actual shuttle while I was away?
Great question.
That it was a miracle that they got up here.
It was a miracle that they got here. Yes, it was. And I will say this. I'm going to give this to you. All right? You noticed that the scarring and the slagging of the metal looks as if whatever had burned it tried to pull the ship. The way in which it almost looks like a tendril wrapped around and tried to pull the ship. And it looks like I'm trying to explain this to where it doesn't feel like I'm just being like, and here's what happened, but here's what happened, okay? Kind of looks like something grabbed onto it and then let go.
Were the readings conclusive as to like whether or not it was one of those like tendrils
No,
of the stuff? Okay.
it was not. That's a great question.
He will relay that information that it appears that the shuttlecraft was grabbed by some sort of tendril. Scans are inconclusive as to what type of thing did it.
Also, Captain, if I might request, I would love to get a closer look at one of those portable scanning devices you have. They are fascinating.
Tricorder.
Hmm.
Well, I've
3 things at once. That's quite a wonder.
quite a bit more than 3. Perhaps we can arrange a demonstration. I'm afraid I can't let you take any Federation technology from the ship.
Oh, no, of course.
Well,
Commander Flitz, are you suggesting that this intelligence might have been using something akin to a tractor beam?
tractor beam.
It could be analogous to one.
It certainly can't be assumed that it had any kind of hostile intention, despite the damage that was inflicted on our ship, considering its dubious makeup. No offense intended, of course.
Oh no. I will admit to a certain amount of slapdash engineering. I'll know better next time not to put the environmental systems near the outer hull.
Well, we usually in the Federation place our bridges as hood ornaments on starships, so I don't think
It's
we
to
can...
show scale.
I don't think we can really blame you for your engineering and aesthetic choices.
Yes, I often wondered about that myself. But
I don't believe ancient Andorian vessels had that design flaw. I think it was inherited from the Terrans.
yes, the bridge is on top, I think, just because it's that hierarchical command structure that we still use today. It was inherited entirely from the humans.
So there are several designs possible for a spacefaring vessel.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
What a fascinating, enlightened species this, or information this seems to be.
The question, however, regardless of the design of our starship, does remain, do we wish to pursue this avenue of investigation and actually enter the nebula?
From what I can tell, from what was done to the shuttle, do I think that that could harm the Erebus? I still believe that the ship herself would be safe.
Then it's not a question of means, but a question of intent and will, Captain.
Since we have evidence of or if not evidence, suggestion of advanced construction methodology in this nebula, I believe we should attempt to make contact.
I was hoping you would say that, Captain. This should be fun.
Given that this region and presumably the facility itself is sacred ground, and he turns over to look at the two visitors to the conference room, to your people, are there any precautions or preparations that we should make?
You are not followers, so long as you show respect and do not destroy,
No,
I see no issue.
no, we would not destroy it.
Despite my occasionally prickly demeanor, the sect of my people from which I hail is committed to pure pacifism. You can rest assured that I will undertake no such actions.
Well, if Uraela allows us into the nebula, that is her will, and so I cannot imagine that there would be any action that we could take which could prevent that. Or cause it, for that matter.
Excellent. Well, the first thing that I suppose we should do is attempt to communicate with that structure. Perhaps it has a subspace transceiver.
If not, we could also attempt to shield a probe and send it into the nebula and use it as a relay.
Make preparations, Dr. Thane. Any and all reasonable modifications to the probe to protect it from radiation, energy surges, anything you can think of.
Well, I can think of a great deal, Captain, but I believe that Commander Flitz would probably be best equipped to actually make the modifications themselves.
Of course.
I don't see too much of a problem with that.
Well, let me know when the probe is ready, Commander. In the meantime, we'll try a standard greeting.
Captain, will you permit me to be present while you send this greeting? Wherever you're sending it from.
Of course, right from the bridge.
Thank you.
Perhaps after I make an introduction, you would like to speak.
Yes. That. Yes.
How delightful, and very generous of you as well.
Well, it seems only fitting that if you believe this to be the home of Ubriella, that you who've come in search of her should have a chance to ask what you wish to ask.
I must say, I find your United Federation of Planets people very delightful.
Thank you.
I've always found them to be so.
We have not always been so, and still make mistakes from time to time.
That's a good moment where we will follow the captain up to the bridge, along with, I'm assuming Shaz would probably go as well, unless you wanted to head off somewhere else.
I think that Shaz is actually going to hold the captain back for just a moment after
Perfect.
the others have departed for the bridge.
Perfect.
And as the doors swish closed behind them, he kind of puts a hand to the captain's shoulder and prevents him from leaving. He looks out at the nebula and then back to the door. Very much like parents, gods can be inestimable disappointments. They might not take very kindly to what they find.
That's true. But sometimes reckoning with the failings of our parents or our gods requires that veneer be shattered.
I've always simply preferred to leave them in the dust, as it were. A reckoning isn't always necessary.
Perhaps, but they are resolved to try. If they attempt to enter that nebula in their shuttle, they will die.
I appreciate what it is that you're doing for them, regardless of what might result.
Maybe this is one of those times where we have to have faith.
I have faith in their conviction, Captain, and that was something I didn't have before I heard tell of how deeply they feel it. But regardless, No. I'll leave you to your business, Captain, and I'll assist Commander Flitz in the modification of the probe.
Of course, Doctor.
And he just turns and sort of slightly stiffly walks off.
Captain,
Yeah,
you
and I think
make
the
your way to the
captain will
bridge.
go to the bridge. Yeah.
Perfect. You make your way to the bridge where you have Mildreth and Osley are there. Commander Flitz, you are busy down in engineering, working on one of the probes to modify it to withstand entering into this nebula, and actually setting up a communications buoy, as it were. And Captain, the comms states they have comms broadcasting. They give the
just before we do that, Olti is going to sort of sidle up to Meldrief and be like, I don't know if you heard, but it seems like they have this subspace they speak of. They referenced it earlier in terms of their engineering and faster than light travel, but they are also planning to communicate through subspace. And it reminded me of the story of Ubraela and her vision and hearing, which seem to happen faster than is possible. If they're using some sort of faster than light communication system, then I think we are on the right track. And you will get to have your conversation with Ubre. I feel it in my heart, and in my second heart,
but not the third heart. That one has slight heartburn.
No, he donated that one to his brother.
I love you so much, Brian. You're the fucking man. You're so good.
Yes, this is the right path.
See, I told you that we weren't done our little adventure. I am a little concerned about how we're going to get home, but otherwise I'm very excited.
What is it you always say? Ubrella will provide our way?
And she has so far. I don't know why I'm even doubting it. You are correct.
We're a long way from home.
And yet, somehow closer to it than we've ever been.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Meldrief, are you ready?
Is anyone ever ready? I have to be, don't I?
No. If you would like, I can speak to Ubraela through the subspace channel. If you are not ready, you should not force yourself.
If you want to speak to her, you should. That's the point of this.
Meldrief, if you think that I came to speak to Ubraela on my own behalf, you are gravely mistaken. We are here so that you may make your peace with your relationship with Ubraela. Ubraela and I are fine. So if you need, I will speak to her on your behalf. However, I think you are ready.
Yes. Yes, I'm ready.
Excellent. Well, if you get a response and you can't think of a question, do ask her, if I were to change just a few settings on my gravitational field, would that result in a subspace bubble?
I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Any others before we attempt communication? Captain, the comms are open. May attempt to communicate.
To the structure at the heart of the nebula. This is Captain Ezra Shruth of the Federation starship Erebus. We're studying your nebula and are reaching out in the hopes that you will establish a line of communication. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration and discovery.
That moment, there is a horrific feedback loop. Like when you take a microphone, put it up to the speaker, and it goes it just starts screeching, and that just plays over the speakers, and everyone covers their ears until the communications officer lowers the volume, and you can just barely hear this feedback loop, this wub 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 noise, this screeching, and it sounds like the scraping of rebarb on metal. Like there's like a screeching noise that's going on, and the communications officer's like, I'm trying to run it through the translator and has no idea what this is. No idea what this is. Meanwhile, Eladreth, you hear the lullaby that your mother used to sing to you. You would have nightmares. You were a child. Not hear the screeching and the feedback. Instead, you hear that song. It is being sung by a feminine voice, and it is reminiscent of your mother's own singing of it, albeit a little bit more jaunty. This hymn used to sing lullaby. Hymn, not hem, but hymn. Got it right this time. English is my first language, but you know, still speak it like it's a second. So there you go. But you hear that. Everyone else does this, and you're just like, really nice. Please continue, Captain, or anyone else who would like to say.
And I think at that point, the captain's going to gesture to Melodreth. Perhaps you would try.
Ubriella, I don't come to you with the words or the hymns or the gestures that so many others have offered. I'm just here. I have things I want to ask, but I don't need to ask them. I want to open up a different form of communication. And maybe some people need to have your blessing on it to break away from tradition and from dogma that's become so ingrained. If you don't respond, that won't affect me, but it will affect them. I don't need, but I would like anything.
The sound that you are hearing individually, this hymn that you're hearing being sung, screeching in the feedback loop, stops. Silence. The nebula itself, this swirling mixture of the reds and the oranges you see behind me, the electrical pulses that you see, it's suddenly and completely like like an octopus can change its color and blend in. It goes from swirling red to completely dark. It just basically disappears as though it's blended in the background. A moment later, you see an arc of this electrical impulse that illuminates that structure in the center, shoots out, shoots out, shoots out, shoots out, and then the nebula seems to reform, re-illuminate, but instead of being red, it now looks to be a speckling of colors, not unlike the coloring that you see on Olsley. Reminiscent of those colors, right? If we pull up his artwork that I have for you, that I had boosted, you see that he has these yellows and these blues, a little bit of red scales. He's got these little yellowish horns, and you see these like pulses. And I want you to imagine it almost looks like fireworks in the nebula that create a kind of face that kind of looks like Olsley for a moment. The nebula then goes dark again, and a moment later, there is a similar pulsing, but this time it is purple and a sort of whitish tan color with vibrant red where the lips would be. It's like a face. It looks like you. And then the nebula once again returns back to the red swirling stellar nursery that you had seen. This all takes place over the course of 10 seconds. 5 for Olsley, 5 for Melodrath. Then silence. Nothing other than the red swirling.
That would appear to be a response.
Yes.
And confirmation that it can perceive within either their vessel or ours. Both.
Melodrath, was that an invitation?
It's an invitation or it's an answer. But then, I don't know about your people, Captain, but we don't worship a god on Sevi because she answers directly.
Acid.
Is that simply confirmation that you are seen, if you will? An acknowledgement?
That is how I would interpret it. I'm sure there's other arguments, but she reflected Olsey and myself. We are the worshippers of her who are here.
So what comes next?
Your vessel, it can record these things, yes?
Yes.
Was it recording what the Umbrella showed us?
Everything that could be captured visually was.
Then would you give us a copy of that recording, of that visual just now?
The unfiltered visual, yes.
I suspect that's the answer to what I came to ask. I would share it with my people, those who will listen.
Shas, given the circumstances, if they're satisfied, I don't particularly feel the need to tread on their hallowed ground.
Seems, Captain, that you have predicted and preempted my objection to leaving this matter so woefully uninterrogated, but you do have a point. This is not our space. I'll prepare the data packet that you've requested and have it transferred to a suitable data module that they can take with them when they depart.
Of course. Commander Flitz,
Captain.
is their vessel spaceworthy?
It never was.
Is it as space-worthy as it ever was?
Well, if you let me patch the hole.
Is that a statement that I could give, Wolf?
That is absolutely a statement you could give. You know,
It is
honestly, with a couple hours of work, you could probably make it pretty space-worthy. You're a good engineer, but continue, please. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It could be brought back to its former condition.
Considering the limitations on its propulsion system, might it not
Perhaps we
simply
had
be
better drop them off.
Yes.
Although I'm loath to beam you down in front of a crowd that may set a cascading precedent.
Yeah, considering we are
Perhaps.
arriving with evidence that Uber Ela sees us, I am sensing that perhaps you have some reticence on revealing your presence to my planet.
Yes, you could say that.
Your technology is somewhat more advanced than ours.
Sweetheart.
And I imagine that as a moral species, with members who have sworn themselves to pacifism, that you have some moral obligation that prevents you from interfering in the business of species who are not as technologically advanced?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. We call it our prime directive.
How long would it take your ship to reach Savvy 2?
Helm?
2 hours, sir. It took you guys like 3 months to get here. Yeah.
If you can provide me with tools and some assistance, I may be able to make the ship at least worthy of re-entry.
Excellent. Then we will furnish you with materials appropriate to your technology level
Mm-hmm.
and assist you with the fine art of self-preservation in the vacuum of space.
Which I appreciate.
Commander Flitz, will you see to that?
Gladly, sir. Come.
Thank you. And may Uber Ela eventually reach all of your hearts.
I do not possess a heart.
Well, then how does your cardiovascular system work?
You do have a hydrostatic regulator, do you not?
Well, there's this. No, it's a decentralized system. Small micro pumps. Much more efficient.
Fascinating.
I thought your internal systems were Mark III variety. Are you Mark IV instead? It says Mark III on your service jacket.
My chassis is Mark III, but my
I thought his name was Flitz.
my circulatory system was upgraded to a Mark IV.
I'll make sure we update those records.
I would appreciate it. There's a significant difference in the maintenance schedule.
Indeed. Well, we will see you off before you go, but for now you have work to do.
Ah, yes.
Brilliant.
And I think
Please, Captain.
if we could keep it here for 1 second,
Yes,
he's going to head over to where Shaz is, preparing the data packet, and he'll just sort of like absently say, "Isn't that what any child wants? Just to be seen for who and what they are, and only that, and for that to be enough."
I think you've hit upon the key difference, Captain. It's not just to be seen, it's to be accepted. We've only touched the barest surface of this facility and their divinity, and I can't understand how they're satisfied with that.
Something to consider. I don't understand either. My inclination as a scientist is to go straight down the middle of that nebula and get personnel aboard that facility if it's capable of supporting life, and if not, get them over there in EV suits with tricorders and portable scanners and take every terabyte of data that we can from the place.
Ferret out every conceivable byte of data pertaining to the mystery until it ceases to be so, to conquer the unknown. That is, after all, why we're out here. But I suppose there are species that quest after something different.
Quite so. A spiritual sustenance rather than an intellectual one.
Thinking of our own myth of creation, perhaps it's because we, as the fractured children of Uzave the Infinite, the primordial Andorian who was sundered into our 4 elements, 4 genders, we're always questing. We can never be satisfied because we're never whole.
We are that first Andorian's attempt to understand itself.
I do wish that was easier.
If it was, something tells me it may be a less worthy endeavor.
The possibility remains, of course, that it's utterly impossible and that we strive after a goal that's unattainable.
In all likelihood, yes.
That's a respectable challenge, I suppose.
I think we can.
Data packet's ready, Captain, whenever you wish to send it along.
Why don't we hand deliver it?
He hands it over to you and says, I think I'll leave that to you.
As you wish. And yeah, the captain will leave the bridge.
I think you would find Owlsley, Melodreth, and Lieutenant Commander Fizz and Blitz and several engineers finalizing repairs after not too long. You had a communication, you talk, but we'll cut to a scene of them finalizing repairs. they can head back out in their refit. Likely gonna survive now, thanks to Flitz's help.
Yes.
Yes, the life support's now on the inside of the ship. That's
Nice.
whoa, what a concept. But yes. Take it away, gentlemen. Lady.
Well, Captain, it has been an absolute pleasure. I have some ideas that I think will change how science is explored down there, but I'll try to introduce them slowly.
Well, remember, for a species with such an exceptionally long lifespan, change does come slowly.
Yes, but is that necessary or just our own lethargy?
For many of us, shorter-lived races, the cost of that rapid change is often measured in lives.
Your concern is well placed, Captain. I can see why you are the commanding officer of this vessel. However, you're forgetting Meldrieth and I have news. Umbra Ela awaits. There is a temple in the sky, and when we are ready, we shall explore it.
And with that, he'll just silently hand him a whatever data storage device is analogous to their culture.
Yeah.
Ah, no, that is not for me. That is for Meldrieth.
Well then, he'll hand the device to Mildred.
She will take it carefully. Thank you, Captain.
It has been our pleasure.
Your pleasure to help us with this. Your Federation must be a curious place.
We are a curious amalgamation, and as a result, have a curious nature. We have a saying, or one of the founding species of the Federation, ancient enemy of my people, now close friends, or at least acquaintances. They say the universe is filled with infinite diversity in infinite combinations. We are one, you are another. But both have value.
If our peoples meet again, may it be as friends.
That is my fondest hope.
Hopefully, sometime within my lifetime, we will develop this subspace communication. So keep an ear out for us.
Yeah.
You may count on it.
Yes.
I think, unless anyone else has anything to say, I think we will watch as their ship putters along out from theirs and heads away. We see the Erebus head off on its own course. And unless anyone has anything else, I think that's a good little bow on our adventure. That feels like a good cadence. I like that. Just well done, everybody. I I had a whole temple set up and ready to go, but that's fine. I'm not mad. I was just like, I don't know where they're going to take this. I was like, I got a temple and I got an explanation for everything. And she's like, no, I'm good. It showed me my face. I'm like, perfect. That's actually cooler. It was awesome. I want to just give, I just want to give kudos and compliments to Brian and Sidereal Day for taking these basic characters. I was like, all right, here's your characters. Okay, there's this guy and there's this guy. Do something with it, and they did amazing, and they made them very compelling. So I had an absolute delightful time, and this went in a direction, as all of these sessions have, that I did not expect, and it's been super fun. I did very little talking today, and it was awesome. I just watched you guys just unfold this mystery, and I was just like, there's some very good moments. Good job, everyone, truly. And did y'all have a good time? That's the most important thing to me, is to have fun.
Yeah,
So,
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
awesome.
Always do.
Awesome. This has been an incredible series. I've really been enjoying it. I was very much in my head when we started. I was like, this is suck. I feel like this sucks. I feel like I'm not doing a good job. But no, it was fine. It is what it is. But no, you guys have been awesome. And truly, Brian and Mimi, thank you so much. Serial Day, Brian, thank you so much, guys, for stepping in. You guys did such a fantastic job. I literally designed the intro to like leave space so I could put guest stars in. That's why I left that, because I want to have these moments where, like, since we're only playing every 2 weeks, I want to be able to, like, if someone's not going to be able to make it, we've got enough time to like bring people in. So I'm super excited about that. And seeing you, Drew, you guys all together again was awesome. And just thank you so much for stopping in. It was super fun. But as I always say at the end of every session as well, thank you so much to players for playing. Truly, without you guys, this is literally impossible. And I always have a lot of fun. I'm not doing this as often, so the times that I do are even more enjoyable for me because I look forward to it. And you guys have been great. Thank you to the viewers for viewing. Our chat was blown up today. Thank you guys for hanging out and shooting the shit with us and having some fun. Hopefully you enjoyed the show as well and our little story. We always have a good time. Happy gamer, everybody. And as we always say here at DerWolfDenGaming, the dice have a story to tell. We'll find out what that story is. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not, but mostly it is. Good night. Be well, be safe. We'll catch you next time.